Well,
there you go. Those are fun pants.
Roger.
We'll have to let Frankie know what's going on with the bit.
Yeah. All right. There we go.
This is a very weird show.
It is, Frankie. He made some bold predictions, and he has to pay off his bet.
That's right, Frankie. And
are you getting in trouble on Reddit again, Dave?
This was on the show.
Man, yeah, I did say that on the show, but man, Reddit hates me. But it was fun to hang. I was hanging out on Reddit over the weekend and getting downvoted for the children. You do it for the kids.
Yeah.
I had said on Friday I thought the Kings were going to get annihilated, and I said, look, if they win, I said I'll wear pants on my head for the show, and on top of that, I'll get us breakfast, and so we're here we go. So
that is a lot of breakfast, right?
Yeah,
there.
I forget, dude. Biscuits and gravy at Black Bear Diner that's like
wow.
That's like loaves of bread and gravy. And
was it hot when it got there at least?
Yeah, actually it is.
Okay. So there's that, and then Jason was kind enough because really he is truly the backbone of the program, always has been. He said, yeah, I'm going with this. I didn't even remember I said that because, as Roger said, I'm kind of a whack job, but I did. You brought in like 8 pair of pants.
Yeah, Frankie, I didn't do this till we started Rewind, so it was really where I wanted to hit the punchline with this. And so now he's been wearing my wife's pants on his head. He's worn mine, my son's. Yeah.
Wow.
So some fun pants every segment for him.
I actually think it looks good.
Yeah, he's paying it off.
So this is going to continue for the final 5-6 weeks.
Final hour.
No. Real quick. No. But I said I'd do this every day if it meant the Kings won. I would 100% do that if I knew that was connected. Let me ask you a question, then we'll get to Frankie and Kings talk. I want you to be honest because you won't offend me either way. Are you going to wash these pants before everybody wears them again because they were on my head, or no?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. Probably, maybe. I don't know.
Really? You'd wash them because they were on my head?
I don't know. They were clean.
I took a shower this morning. Frankie, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well. Doing well. I can't lie. I did see a glimpse of the first pair of pants, so it's nice to know the backstory. And hey, man, it's a good look. Maybe continue it. As long as the winning streak goes on, I think you might have to continue it.
I think the sad thing is that Frankie didn't know the backstory, saw the pair of pants, and was just like, that's Dave.
What's up with Dave?
Yeah, that's just normal.
There's a lot of times I turn your guys' show on though, and I'm just kind of thinking, well,
what's going on?
Well,
Dave's on some kind of phase here. Like, let's see what's going on.
Maybe announced Roger and Frankie.
Yeah, exactly. It's therapy.
He's concerned.
Frankie, peel screens. I want to talk about. I want to talk about what we saw Saturday, and the lead into that is that we had said for a while now what the Kings lack in individual defenders. Not Keon, not Keegan, etc. If there's one guy that can affect that properly, I'm getting choked up here, excuse me, it's Doug Christie. And we hearkened back to the 02 year where they led the league in opposition field goal percentage, and Doug was the linchpin of that defense, and he was surrounded by guys, with all due respect, that aren't good defenders. But they played team defense. And I feel like despite Sabonis going out a minute in, maybe the most exciting thing about that game beyond the win was that we saw communication. We saw them peel screening their faces off and recovering. I thought it was one of the most exciting defensive performances we've seen from this team all year, if not the most. And I'm curious if you guys saw some of Doug Christie's handprints on this.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was. You'd hope it was a matter of time before the team, who was so bad on the defensive end for the majority of the year, would start showing some signs of improvement. And the roster turnover kind of really that hampers down any progress you'd seen from before that deadline period. But it's easy to point to more Keon Ellis equals more defensive success. And is it that simple? Maybe if you play your best defensive players for more minutes than not, you're going to see your opponent struggle more on the 3-point line, which is what happened the past couple of games. And it's a 3-game sample size, but I'm just looking at the last 3 games in particular. And again, I know it's Charlotte and Utah for 2 of those games, but you're holding opponents to 97 points per game, and you're holding them to 32% from 3. This is a team that was 29th for the majority of the year, I think 30th for a stretch too, in 3-point defense. And Keon Ellis is someone who, especially now with De'Aaron Fox in San Antonio and Keegan Murray taking on the brood of opposing players, guarding the best opposing player. Keon Ellis is somebody who definitely can help shrink those 3-point numbers as far as on-ball pressure. So I definitely am seeing more, like you said, Dave, communication. The rotations look really good and crisp, but it looks like it's looked like the majority of the year, or the past 2-3 years, really, the Kings have always been one step or two steps behind on those rotations, and just having guys be, over anticipatory in a good way though, and making the right move, and against a really good team in Houston, nonetheless, a team that was fully healthy and among the best teams in the West. And it's encouraging. You have to hope it continues. And, no Sabonis in the fold. You see Valanciunas pick up 4 steals last game. Is that an anomaly? I don't know. I don't know if it's fair to expect Valanciunas to be a 3-4 steal game per game type of player, but the fact is that the guys are in the right spots where they need to be on the defensive end and communicating, which is the most important thing.
Frankie brought up Sabonis, obviously, and now we know the next evaluation is at least a week away. And then, so if we assume he's out for these 4 games, we'll know more later. But he's a great player. He means a lot to this team, but they can be a little bit different without him. What do you think they're going to try to do in, let's just say, these next 4 games, knowing that they won't have Sabonis?
Well, I think that the fact that, Domas was kind of struggling, going through really a cold spell leading into the injury. And again, I keep pointing to the fact the Kings played Utah and Charlotte in the games prior, sure, but the way that they won those games was commanding, and it was somewhat of a cakewalk, which it should have been against those opponents. But the fact that Domas was struggling, you kind of can see what the formula is for this team to kind of get over that hump. And Valanciunas is somebody who definitely can fill in as far as a rebounding standpoint and that physicality in the paint. And I think that's why the Valanciunas move has been one of the better deadline moves in recent memory for the Kings, because Domas is someone that we've seen get hammered down there game in and game out and really didn't get a break. He had have to play 40 minutes sometimes this year because the Kings really didn't have a backup center that could really even remotely match that physicality or that rebounding presence. And not a knock on Alex Len or Trey Lyles, but it's hard to do what Domantas Sabonis does as far as to demand that attention on the boards. And Valanciunas is somebody who has been around the game for a long time. He was a menace against the Kings in New Orleans last year. And you see last game, 1 game, but 15 and 14, 3 blocks. Like, that's the kind of guy that the Kings really have been wanting to plug in there in those Sabonis-less minutes. And, you wouldn't want to have those minutes come for a week plus. And I think you guys talked about earlier how tricky hamstrings are, and they definitely are. And we'll see. Domas is a guy who hates missing games. Like, if it was up to him, he probably played tonight. Yeah. But the way that the standings look right now, and the fact that the Kings have 23 games left, you're playing a Dallas team tonight who's missing a lot of players. Denver on the road, that usually doesn't go very well. You're playing San Antonio, who's really kind of spiraling out of control here. If you can pick off 2-3 of the next 4 or 5 games and get Domas back in a week and a half, 2 weeks, I mean, really the Kings can still be in a pretty good spot. So Valanciunas is somebody that can really plug that hole for the time being. But whereas if that deadline deal didn't happen, what do the Kings do at the backup center position right now? You're probably rolling out Alex Len or Trey Lyles. So I think it's a really good move that the Kings picked him up when they did. And now we're going to see him play a lot of minutes. And behind him, that'll be interesting. Will Trey Lyles play small ball 5? Probably. I know that Scal's back in the fold here. I think more for depth purposes. But Isaac Jones, someone who maybe gets a little more run. I know he's on a 2-way deal, and they're trying to kind of limit his games. There is a limit on 2-way contracts. I think it's 40 to 41 games. But definitely, I'm looking at the Valanciunas move right now as a move that came at a really good time for the Kings, all things being taken into account.
Frankie Cartoscelli joining us when it comes to Jonas, and we were so happy with that pickup, and it seemed like a very obvious move, couple second-round picks, whatever it may be, before when we were all talking about it. He's here. Credit to the front office. Also, am I being a little bit too sensitive? Well, I said this earlier, Frankie, and I want your thoughts. I also don't. I just want to be careful we don't put Valanciunas on a pedestal too high. I'm not saying he can't do this every game. I'm saying odds are he won't do this every game, and I just don't want to be unfair to the guy if he comes out tonight with 10 and 8 and have it seem like that's a negative, or that he didn't show up or whatever. I think when you do that along with all the steals he had, the block, like, that's an insane game for Jonas Valanciunas. I just want to make sure we remember that Trey Lyles and perhaps Scalabiciere, maybe even Keegan Murray in spots, they're going to have to be really big too while Sabonis is out. It can't just be JV.
Oh yeah, and you can't expect 15 and 14, 3 steals or 4 steals, 3 blocks. Like that's not the kind of player that he is. Like you said,
No.
10 and 8 on, he's at 60% for the year on field goal attempts right now. If he can shoot, 6 of 8, 6 of 9 from the field, 10, 12 points, 7, 8 rebounds over, 28, 30 minutes, that's a really good night for Jonas Valanciunas. That's kind of where he's at for his career. Like you said, the guys around him are really the ones that are going to have to step up more. And DeMar DeRozan, who's had some streaky moments and really has been big more times than not for sure. Zach LaVine getting more comfortable, and Keegan Murray, like you just mentioned, just pulled up here. If it seems like Keegan's been playing better, which has been really important that he does play better for the Kings in the second half, he has since January 1st, which is pretty good sample size now. 24 games, 13.1 points per game, 6.5 boards, a steal per game, but the 48% from the field and 39% from three. That is the most important thing for someone who wasn't having those shots fall. And Keegan right now, you're seeing him step into threes with confidence now. He's not shying away from even going back into an attempt after, missing the time prior. You kind of saw him get in his head earlier in the year. And, I don't think it's a matter of De'Aaron Fox being a part of the fold and taking field goal attempts away. You have Zach LaVine in there now. I think it's just a matter of, his fit in the offense and his confidence level and continuing to kind of push through those struggles. Because I think G-Man said it last week, and something I kind of had to remind myself too, he's a third-year player, which it maybe feels like he's been around longer, or I know he's 24, 20, I think he's about to be 25 years old, so he's a little further along than some players in that age group, but it's kind of something I have to remind myself that he's still not super experienced at the NBA level yet. And I think we say a lot of the times that it takes 3 years to grade a prospect, and Keegan has not been quite the player we saw from the 3-point line as he was as a rookie, but we talk about it all the time that, his rookie year, he was just kind of a spot up shooter or coming off dribble handoffs, not putting the ball on the floor that much, not looking for his own offense as much. He's trying to kind of be one of those, like Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan players, like looking for their own shot, creating off the dribble. And, the dribble is something he still has to work on going into the offseason, but the confidence is getting better and the shots are falling, which is important for the Kings. And, just kind of looking back at the last couple of games here, they're also shooting 43% from field the past 3 games during this 3-game winning streak. So Keegan's been a good part of that. And, if he can continue to play well, it takes pressure off Valanciunas. And especially if you look at guys, like I mentioned, DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine continue to get comfortable, Keon Ellis continuing to knock down the 3 ball. The Kings rely on the 3 ball so heavily. If they can knock down threes, you don't have to worry about the production of a center spot as much.
Frankie, in our final minute here, Keegan and Keon probably tonight on Kyrie Irving, would you guess?
I guess so, yeah. I saw Deuce just put out a clip of him when they talked to Keon in the offseason saying that Kyrie's his favorite player to play against and to guard. So I'm looking at Keon to definitely go at Kyrie Irving for a Mavericks team who, they're missing a lot of guys tonight. Their AD's out tonight, PJ Washington kind of down the line. They're missing some big pieces. So it starts with Kyrie, and we know that Kyrie is someone who can definitely make a difference. Scored 40 against the Kings a couple weeks ago and almost won that game for them pretty much single-handedly in Dallas. And big game for the Kings in the standings, really is. Every game kind of from here on out has higher stakes than the one before. It's kind of a crazy time of year, but it'll be fun to see Keon Ellis get more run. And like we talked about, putting your better defensive players on the floor usually bodes well for the Kings, and they definitely can use a lot more Keon, especially tonight.
Want to remind everybody you can read and see Frankie at sactownsports.com. Also, download that Sactown Sports app. And Frankie, go ahead and give us your social media handle, if you will.
Hard name to spell, but F Cartoscelli, Cartoscelli. If you just type in Frankie on Twitter, it'll come up. If you type in Frankie C, it'll probably come up. It's a hard last name, but okay. Or go to the Sactown Sports, sactownsports.com. At the bottom of each article, it'll say mine or Brendan Nunez. Each of our names have our Twitter handle next to them too, so that'll be pretty easy to find.
You obviously can also go to the Sactown Sports YouTube page. We're also on Instagram, X, and Facebook. So, quick question, because we got a break here. Chris, how many points is that? Because it's promote our socials week. So I promoted the website and to download the app, and I had Frankie plug his social media, and I plugged our YouTube, our Instagram, our X, and our Facebook.
That's good work.
And I feel like it flowed. It wasn't repetitive.
I think that's something you should ask the judge.
You're a management. You're a suit, dude.
This isn't my competition.
It's our competition.
When I'm in this room,
yeah,
I am producer of the Carmichael Dave Show.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Well, can you step out of the room?
Yeah, what if you actually came in here? Okay. Frankie, I feel like that's like 10 points right there.
I think so. I'm not the judge either, but I think that's a good amount of points for you guys for sure.
10-0 run.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you,
Wow.
Frankie. Good stuff. Please give hello to little Frankito, as somebody said in the chat.
Baby Rizzler.
Baby Rizzler. Yeah,
Yep.
give our love
Wow.
to the junior, and we'll talk to you soon, friend.
Yeah, I'll make sure he's not wearing pants on his head anytime soon. But whenever he does, I'll give you a call.
Everybody's doing it.
Raise him right, like me, according to Roger. Thank you, buddy. Be good.
Bye, guys.
See you.
We
Bye.
bring the boom.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Biscuits and gravy. So good.
Yeah.
A lot of biscuit.
Yeah.
A lot of
gravy.
biscuit.